for chaos, the constant need to keep moving, keep competing, keep chasing. But Carlos Alcaraz has redefined momentum as something else entirely. Control. His choice to skip Shanghai wasn't a pause. It was a pivot. The stillness before the strike. When he returns in Paris, every movement will carry the weight of purpose. His serve placement, his court positioning, even his recovery between points, all will reflect a player who no longer lets the season dictate his rhythm. He dictates it. It's this philosophy that has transformed Alcaraz from a prodigy into a prototype, a model for how tennis must evolve if it wants to protect its own future. Inside his camp, this evolution is meticulous. His coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero, monitors microdata, hydration levels, sleep cycles, muscle recovery metrics. Every variable counts. His physical trainer coordinates sessions to simulate late-season fatigue weeks before it arrives. Even his travel routes are optimized for circadian rhythm stability. Nothing is random, because nothing about Alcaraz's rise has been accidental. But what makes this transformation profound isn't just science, it's mindset. He's learned to view rest as part of training, silence as part of preparation, and balance as a form of power. In a sport obsessed with grind culture, that kind of thinking borders on revolutionary. This shift has also influenced how his rivals approach their own calendars. In locker rooms from Vienna to Basel, conversations have changed. Younger players are beginning to question the wisdom of endless participation. The more is better mentality is losing ground to something more sustainable. Better is better. Alcaraz didn't start this movement with a manifesto. He started it with results. Winning when others were limping. Peaking when others were spent. Smiling when others were breaking. When he steps onto the court in Paris, the entire ATP field will be watching not just his shots, but his pace. How he times his seasons, how he navigates fatigue, how he creates bursts of brilliance through strategic silence. It's a kind of leadership that transcends rankings, a quiet power that redefines what greatness means in the modern era. For years, the sports mythology has celebrated endurance. Nadal's grit, Djokovic's discipline, Federer's longevity. But Alcaraz has added a new dimension. Precision. Not just in hitting the ball, but in living the season. His greatness is measured not by how much he does, but by how well he chooses. As 2025 nears its end, the picture is clear. Alcaraz's restraint wasn't a step back, it was the foundation of a dynasty. He enters Paris, Turin, and the Davis Cup not as a survivor of the calendar, but as its architect. Every rival feels the difference. They grind. He glides. They react. He anticipates. They hope to endure. He plans to last. And when the year closes, whether he lifts another trophy or not, his legacy will already have expanded. Not through records, but through influence. Because what Carlos Alcaraz is teaching the world, coaches, players, and fans alike, is that the next frontier of tennis greatness won't be decided by who plays the most matches. It will be decided by who understands when not to. Tennis, if you believe tennis needs a new rhythm, one that values balance, clarity, and evolution. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to World News Tennis, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think? Is Alcaraz changing the sport for the better, or should players still chase every battle? Speech balloon fire. The decision that stunned the tennis world, Carlos Alcaraz skipping the Shanghai Masters, was not an act of retreat, but a statement of power. In a calendar where players are often measured by how much they endure rather than how much they achieve, Alcaraz is rewriting the rules of greatness. The move marked the third time in 2025 that he had voluntarily stepped back from a major tournament, and each time, it has only made him stronger. The reasoning behind it goes beyond physical fatigue. It's about control, over energy, form, and most importantly, legacy. Those around Alcaraz say this choice was not spontaneous. It was part of a carefully structured long-term plan drawn up by his team after analyzing data from his previous seasons. Every number told the same story. The margins between dominance and decline are thinner than ever. For a player chasing history, those margins matter more than points or prize money. In 2025, Alcaraz's schedule has been engineered with surgical precision. Rather than chasing every ranking point, he's chosen tournaments that align with peak performance cycles. Skipping Shanghai after Tokyo was logical, not emotional. His body had delivered exceptional results, multiple titles across continents and surfaces, but data from his medical team indicated rising micro-fatigue levels. In the high-performance world of elite tennis, That's the invisible warning sign of potential breakdown. And Alcaraz, unlike many before him, listened. His inner circle is unanimous. This approach is the evolution of tennis professionalism. Juan Carlos Ferrero, his mentor and coach, reportedly told him, "Greatness isn't built on repetition, it's built on rhythm." That phrase has become almost a mantra inside the Alcaraz camp. His training now follows a structure that alternates intensity and stillness, explosiveness and calm. On rest days, he works with breathing specialists, mindfulness coaches, and physiologists to restore not only his muscles but his nervous system. It's not about avoiding exhaustion, it's about designing energy. This philosophy stands in sharp contrast to the old-school mentality that dominated the Big Three era. Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic endured unimaginable pain to extend their reigns, often pushing through injuries that left lasting scars. Alcaraz, in contrast, represents a generation raised on science, technology, and self-awareness. His restraint is not fear, it's foresight, and it may be what allows him to outlast them all. Fans initially questioned the decision. Why would a 22-year-old skip an ATP 1000 event when he's in top form? But as the season unfolded, the answer revealed itself. Each time Alcaraz took a calculated break, he returned sharper, more dangerous, and more emotionally stable. After withdrawing from Madrid, he stormed through Rome and conquered Roland Garros. After missing Canada, he dominated Cincinnati, New York, and Tokyo. Now, by skipping Shanghai, he positions himself to attack the European indoor season with the same lethal freshness that defines his best tennis. Sports psychologists often say that recovery is an act of courage, and that courage is what separates champions from legends. Alcaraz's willingness to rest while others grind is his boldest move yet. It signals a shift in how players define ambition. No longer is success tied to constant presence. It's tied to strategic absence, the ability to control the narrative of one season, not be consumed by it. The truth is, tennis is entering an era of recalibration. Schedules have become too dense, travel too exhausting, and the physical demands too extreme. Players like Alcaraz, Sinner, and Swiatek are not complaining, they're adapting. They're building a blueprint for sustainable excellence. The sport is watching in real time as the next generation refuses to let the system dictate their longevity. Carlos Alcaraz's withdrawal from Shanghai, then, was not about missing out. It was about mastery. Mastery of his body, his mind, and his destiny. Every great revolution starts quietly, and his might just redefine how the entire sport approaches success. Tennis. If you think Alcaraz's strategy could change tennis forever, hit like, subscribe to World News Tennis, and tell us in the comments. Is rest the new weapon of champions? The ripple effects of Carlos Alcaraz's withdrawal from Shanghai were immediate and telling. Within hours, the headlines split into two camps. Some praised the young Spaniard's intelligence and long-term thinking. Others accused him of being too cautious, even arrogant, for skipping one of the year's biggest tournaments. But beneath the noise, something more profound was happening. Tennis itself was confronting its own evolution. For years, the sport has been ruled by a culture of relentless participation. Players are taught to grind, to never withdraw, to prove toughness through endurance. Every skipped event was once seen as weakness. Alcaraz has flipped that narrative entirely. By stepping back, he's proven that control is the new courage. Behind the scenes, his decision reshaped more than just a tournament bracket. It reshaped the mindset of a generation. Young players across the tour took notice. Coaches began to whisper about the Alcaraz model, a data-driven, psychology-aware strategy that treats recovery as a competitive advantage. It's not about playing less. It's about playing right. In the corridors of the ATP, officials reportedly discussed the implications. Alcaraz's absence in Shanghai slightly reduced TV viewership but dramatically increased discussion. Proof that influence in modern tennis isn't just about participation, it's about presence. His name dominated conversations even when he wasn't on court. That paradox, being most relevant in absence, marks a shift in power dynamics. When Alcaraz finally addressed his decision, his words were measured but powerful. If I'm not 100%, I'm not giving my best to the sport or to the fans. Sometimes rest is respect. It was a quiet statement, yet it resonated louder than any trophy speech. For decades, tennis idolized players who destroyed themselves for the crowd. Now, one of its brightest stars was saying that preservation could be the highest form of respect, both to self and to spectators. Inside his camp, the philosophy runs deep. His trainer carefully monitors sleep efficiency, cortisol levels, and neuromuscular balance. His nutritionist adjusts diet cycles based on tournament stress. Even his practice sessions are shorter, sharper, and designed to simulate high-pressure bursts rather than long, draining routines. Alcaraz is not training harder than everyone else. He's training smarter. Meanwhile, his rivals are feeling the impact. Players like Daniil Medvedev, Casper Ruud, and even Jannik Sinner have all commented on how fresh Alcaraz looks deep into the season. It's not coincidence. It's design. His ability to peak in key moments has turned into an almost scientific pattern, one that's starting to influence the entire ATP landscape. Sponsors now understand that longevity creates better narratives than burnout. Fans, too, are learning to appreciate sustainability as a form of greatness. In a sense, Alcaraz has become tennis's first true architect of balance. He's demonstrating that brilliance isn't the result of constant motion. It's the product of intelligent timing. His mastery isn't just physical or technical. It's temporal. He knows when to act, when to pause, and when to strike. It's a concept that feels revolutionary because it challenges the sport's very DNA. Tennis was built on repetition, daily drills, endless travel, and the myth that more is always better. Alcaraz is proving that less, when intentional, can yield more. And his success isn't luck. It's the byproduct of emotional maturity far beyond his age. Every great champion leaves an imprint on how the game is played. Federer elevated grace. Nadal defined grit. Djokovic embodied perfectionism. Now, Alcaraz is carving a new archetype, the mindful champion, the one who treats self-preservation as strategy, not surrender. As he rests in Spain, walking golf courses instead of baseline sprints, the entire circuit keeps spinning. Rankings fluctuate, points are won and lost, but Alcaraz remains steady, like the eye of a storm he himself created. When he returns, the focus will shift again, and the message will be clear. Dominance is no longer about who runs the longest race, but about who knows when to stop running. As autumn deepens and the tour moves toward its defining climax, Paris, the ATP Finals, and the Davis Cup, Carlos Alcaraz is exactly where he wants to be, in control. Not exhausted, not desperate to chase points, but deliberate, calm, and calculating. Every step in his season has led to this point. While many of his rivals arrive worn out from back-to-back events, Alcaraz enters the final stretch with a full tank, physically recharged and mentally razor-sharp. His absence from Shanghai, once criticized by some, now looks prophetic. The rest period was not just a pause. It was a weapon. The player who sat out the storm will now arrive at the finish line fresh enough to dictate the tempo. In the chessboard of the ATP season, Alcaraz has mastered the endgame. Observers note that his demeanor has changed. Gone is the urgency of a young prodigy trying to prove himself in every match. What remains is the calm dominance of a player who understands the long arc of greatness. His team calls it the energy curve, peaking at the right moments, never letting form decay into fatigue. It's a formula that might redefine how the next generation manages its careers. The effect extends beyond rankings. The conversation around athlete well-being, once confined to locker rooms, is now central to the global tennis discourse. When Alcaraz speaks about recovery, fans listen. When he chooses rest over risk, it validates the idea that protecting the body is not cowardice, but wisdom. Even veteran players have taken notice. Some privately admit they wish they'd learned that lesson earlier in their careers, before their bodies began to rebel. Inside the ATP offices, discussions have already begun about potential reforms. Ideas like mandatory rest blocks, regionalized scheduling, and point systems that reward performance over volume are being quietly considered. It's no exaggeration to say that Alcaraz's philosophy has ignited a structural conversation the sport had avoided for years. By acting for himself, he's inadvertently become a reformer for everyone. Meanwhile, his return to training in Murcia reflects the unique atmosphere of his camp. His sessions are precise, short bursts of intensity followed by long cool-downs, simulating match adrenaline without the exhaustion of full tournament play. His coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero, orchestrates every sequence like a conductor. There's no wasted motion, no excess, only purpose. Ferrero once said privately, Carlos doesn't just train for tournaments. He trains for the future. And that future is coming fast. Alcaraz will step onto the indoor courts of Paris with a lightness that contrasts sharply with the visible wear on his opponents. The eyes of the tennis world will once again focus on his every move, the footwork, the balance, the confidence that flows from preparation, not luck. He will arrive as a player reborn through discipline, not defiance. More than anything, Alcaraz's 2025 season has proven that greatness is not measured by constant visibility, but by sustained excellence. Every break, every calculated absence, every quiet week of recovery has been a step toward longevity. What once looked like hesitation has revealed itself as evolution. If he finishes the year as world #1, it won't just be a triumph of talent, it will be a victory for vision. For decades, tennis has demanded players adapt to the calendar. Alcaraz has done the opposite. He's made the calendar adapt to him. That's what leadership looks like. He's not just rewriting his own career path. He's redefining what a champion looks like in the modern era. The question now is not whether others will follow, but when. Because the story of Carlos Alcaraz is no longer about one player choosing to skip one tournament. It's about a generation discovering that sustainability, not sacrifice, is the real foundation of dominance. And as he readies himself for Paris, the finals, and the Davis Cup, one truth remains undeniable. The strongest players are not the ones who play the most, but the ones who last the longest. Tennis, if you believe Alcaraz is changing the game forever, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and join the conversation here on World News Tennis. Who's next to follow his path of balance and mastery? Let us know in the comments below.